Welcome back to F8C Tactical, and what we've got on tap today, the 6.5 Grendel. We've been talking about this one for a minute. A buddy of mine did this build a while back. We thought it would be something good to put up on the channel, do a little testing with it. So that's what we did. We borrowed it. We've had it on the range for a couple of days. But before we get to that video, let's talk about the build just a little bit. Out front, we've got a 20-inch 416 stainless upper from Bear Creek Arsenal. The bolt carrier is a PSA with a KAK Industries nitride bolt. He's using a Break Arms Warhammer charging handle. On the bottom side, we've got an Aero Precision M4E1 lower with a UTG ambi safety selector and a PSA 3.5 flat-faced match trigger with a Magpul MOE K2 grip. Up top, we've got a Vortex 4x12 44mm Vortex Sonora scope with the BDC reticle on a Monstrum cantilever mount. The buttstock is a Magpul STR, and he swapped out the standard 3-ounce buffer with a 3.8-ounce H1 buffer. So his purpose on this particular build was he was looking for a medium game AR-style platform hunting rifle with low recoil. I think he did a good job on the build. We won't give away too much of the performance just yet. First, let's look at the 3 rounds that we actually tested with this particular rifle. The first one was 123 grain ELD Match from Hornady Black. This is a target style round designed to work in multiple type platforms. So really just a target precision type round. The other 2 are hunting rounds. The first one being the 123 grain SST from Hornady. The SST line is a polymer tip, super shock hunting round. It should have a devastatingly large wound track. That's what they call for on that. They say they're claiming 2,580 feet per second out of a 24-inch barrel. We'll see if we get that. And lastly, we've seen this one before at a different caliber. It's that MSR Fusion from Federal. This is a soft point, a bonded soft point. We've seen it in the 5.56. It did a really good job. Massive wound track. We'll see how it performs in this 6.5 Grendel. So that's the ammo. That's the rifle. As far as on the range, what we're going to do as far as our test, it's going to be the same as usual. We're going to get a 5-round average through our chrono. And speaking of chronos, we're going to have 2 today instead of just the 1. We're testing this Athlon Rangecraft. Been thinking about buying this one in the past. I borrowed this one off Andy as well. He's been using this, really likes it. We're going to see how it runs for us. And we're going to see what type difference we get between it and our old DLX unit that we've been running. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to set those up. We're going to get a 5-round average through those. It'll give us our muzzle energy, muzzle velocity. We're going to have a target set up at 50 yards. We're going to do a rough figuring on MOA, what type grouping we're getting from each of these rounds. Then we're going to set up our gel test, probably somewhere at about 40 yards. And we're going to see what type performance we get out of each of these rounds. So I think I've got all that covered. Can't think of anything else. So let's get to the video from the last couple of days and see how it goes. All right, real quick before we get going here, we're just going to kind of give you the lay of the land. I've got the target set up down there at 50 yards. Got a camera on it. I've got our old Pro Chrono DLX down there at about 10 feet. I've got the Rangecraft from Athlon here right at the muzzle. And the first one up is going to be the Federal Fusion 120 grain MSR. Trying to look, make sure we've covered everything. As long as these 2 chronos stay within 1%, we're good. They won't be exact, none are, but as long as they're within 1%, and that's if we're running 2,500 feet per second, you know, as long as we're within 25. I'd like to be obviously a little closer than that, but 10, 15 feet per second difference, not a big deal here. As long as we can stay that close, we should be just fine. All right. Let's see if we can get some rounds down range here. All right, 25-26 from the Rangecraft. Looks like 25-18 from the old Pro Chrono. 25-55 from the Rangecraft, 2510 from the Pro Chrono. Glass is fogging up. 2526 from the Rangecraft, 2520 from the DLX. All right, 2551 from the Rangecraft. That looks like 2514 from the DLX. It's a pretty good separation right there. A little bit concerning. 2551, 2542. This is more consistent. That one has fluctuated a little bit. I do think that's 5. That is 5 shots. Okay, I think we've got everything swapped over, I hope. And the next one up is going to be the 123 grain SSTs from Hornady. Let's see what we can do. $25.38, $25.44. $25.53, $25.30. $25.41, $25.30, showing duplicate down there. That's always the thing that concerns me with that one. I get a lot of duplicates. Sorry guys, we had a family emergency there. But that one always gives me duplicate readings. It does it a lot. That's one thing that I have a gripe about that one, is get a lot of duplicates. So I know there's something going on there a little bit. All right, that's 3 shots. 2 more. $25.57, 25. That's like 28. $25.60, $25.40. And that grouping, not very good on that one. Okay, the MOA on that second one was not quite as good as the first one, and I don't think it was me. I just think it was around. So anyway, we're going to move on. Next one up is going to be the 123 grain ELD Match from Hornady Black. Chronos are all swapped. I've got a new target up. I think we're good to go. Let's see what we can do here. All right. 2467, 2456. I mean 2529, 2519. That's 2 good shots down there. Ooh, 2479, 2460. I need a bigger table. Thing barely fits on there, but she gets it done. That's 3 good shots. Nice grouping. Let's try not to screw it up. I don't know if I said 2479, 2460. $24.77, $24.54. Another good group. Another good round anyway. We got one more. That might be, nope, it's good. I was afraid I might have had a little bit, might have pulled that one a little bit, but it looks good down there. 2505, 2495. 5 shots. Looks like the average on that is 24.91. Okay, let's run through the numbers real quick for the 6.5 Grendel. The Hornady 123 grain SST out of the Rangecraft, we got 2550 feet per second for our average velocity, extreme spread of 22, standard deviation of 9, and our energy would be 1,776 foot-pounds. From the DLX chrono, our average velocity was 2520. The difference between the two was 30 feet per second. That's right at 1%. I think it's 1.17%. A little bit high, but it's kind of in line with what we expected. For the Federal Fusion 120 grain MSR round, average velocity was 2542, extreme spread of 29, standard deviation of 13, which would give us 1,721 foot-pounds of energy. From the DLX chrono, the average velocity was 2520, which would make the difference between the two somewhere about 22 feet per second, a little less than 1%. For the 123 grain Hornady ELD Match round, our average velocity was 2492, extreme spread of 61, my bad. Standard deviation of 23, which would give us 1,696 foot-pounds of energy. For the DLX chrono, we measured 2476 feet per second for our average velocity, which would be about 16 feet per second difference, right in line with where we would think it would be. So that one is just fine as well. I will say, however, the surprise that I had off of that particular round was our extreme spread was 61 through the Rangecraft and 65 through the DLX chrono. So both of them picked up those massive swings there. That was a little more than I thought we would get. A little surprising. It did really well as far as our grouping. However, the velocity was a little bit extreme for my taste. How this equate in the gel, I think both of the hunting rounds will do fine. I think that SST and that MSR are both going to do an extremely good job. The ELD match round, we're going to put it in the gel anyway, even though it's more of a target shooting accuracy type round. We're here, we've got the gel, we're going to put it in there and see what it looks like. So with all that said, we're going to get to it. Okay, we've got our gel set up at about 40 yards. Normally we bring that in a little bit, but I feel like we've got a handle on our group there. So feel pretty good about the shot we're going to take. Famous last words, right? No, we got no clothing barrier today. There's not too many deer in Alabama that's got jeans on or fleece or cotton t-shirts. So just a bare gel. First one up is going to be the 123 grain SST from Hornady. I think we got everything ready here. See what we can do. Well, it's going to be a good shot, I hope. Okay, let's look at this real quick. You can see it comes in and just immediate expansion. Massive wound track. Phenomenal performance on this round. You can see a little bits and pieces of that projectile that have come off. However, the majority of it is still intact. And it comes to rest right there at, let's call it 19.25. It looks like that's the angle right there, but it looks like 19.25. And you can see that thing is just mangled up. Lots of damage along this wound track. Just a very nice performance out of that round. Okay, that last one was 2463 at the gel. And generally, a lot of times when you get into higher calibers like this on a gel test, you kind of think about strapping it down, just duct tape or whatever. However, I like to see the actual movement. So we're just going to set it up there and let it go. And if it falls off and hits the camera, it hits the camera. I kind of like that a little better. So that one went well. Next up is going to be the Federal Fusion MSR 120 grain. We'll see if we can get a good shot here. I think it's going to be a good shot, but I know it got into the second block because both blocks come off. Let's go look and see what we got down there. Okay, let's look at it. I have turned it around because it was at the back of the gel going right to left. So I've turned it around. We're looking at the back going left to right so we can get a better view of it. But it is this one in front right here, and it is massive. I love this projectile. I don't care what caliber it's in. It is one of my favorite rounds. It comes in, and obviously you get just catastrophic, massive expansion in this thing. Just a dump of energy through here. Massive wound track. That wound track really just doesn't end until maybe 14 inches. Gets into the second block, comes down, and we are at rest somewhere about almost 22 inches. And I'm going to try to get to the point where you can see the expansion that you've got on this round. Just phenomenal. I love this round. I really do. It is one of my favorites. I love it in 5.56 as well. Just a perfectly done wound track here. Nothing to complain about there. Okay, we've got one more round. I think we've got everything swapped over. I've even got a tarp down in front of it in case it falls off again. So that probably means it won't fall off this time. Last one of the day is going to be 123 grain ELD match from Hornady Black. All right, I think we're gonna have a good shot there. We'll go down and look at it. All right, let's look at it real quick. It's gonna be the one here on the top. And as you can see, very delayed on expansion. Looks like you don't get expansion until about 4.5 inches. Once it expands though, very nice wound track, massive. Trails off at about 16 inches and then loses its copper jacket as it goes into the second block. My feeling is that this secondary entry here into this second block probably caused that. I can't say that for sure, but just based on where that happened, I would say that's probably what that is. Even though we've got these together, it is not one block, and there would be a secondary entry point there, and I think that weakened state probably caused it to lose its jacket there. But anyway, comes on down, and then the rest of it is laying there at, like we said, about 22.5 inches. So can't get a great look at that. It's mangled up quite a bit, but definitely a different wound track for that particular round. So we'll get all of these dug out, get them back in the shop, and get a few measurements and tell you our final thoughts. Okay, we've got everything back in the shop. We're going to look at these real quick in no particular order. This first one is the Hornady 123 grain SST. And you can see it is mangled up pretty good. We did lose a little bit off of this one. I think I could see some in the wound track. The penetration on it was 19.25. Let's see what the final weight was. 94 grains. So right at about 30 grains that we lost off of that one. The velocity at the gel was 2463. Let's see if we can get some type of measurement here. 0.596. 0.57, 0.569 looks like. Good performer in my opinion. Not my favorite, but I don't think you could go wrong really with any of these. They all perform pretty well. The next one is going to be the 123 grain ELD match from Hornady. And we remember the jacket did come off of this one as it went into that second block. This was that lead core that went 22 inches as far as penetration. No, this one was 22.5. 22.5. I think the correct way to weigh it would just be that lead core, 76 grains. So lost quite a bit. That jacket, losing that jacket was the thing on that one. And 0.444 and 0.54. Penetration on this one, we said it was 22.5. The velocity at the gel was 2389. And then lastly, we get to the Federal Fusion 120 grain MSR. Love this round. This is one of my favorite projectiles. I don't care the caliber. I love the way this thing performs. Just flowers out and just eats up everything. And I don't think we've lost anything off of that either. Yeah, we started at 120. We're at 124. Probably still got a little bit of gel up in there. I tried to dig a lot of it out, but I know there's probably some still up in there. The penetration on this one was 22 inches, and the velocity at the gel was right at 2,500. Let's see if we can get some measurements off of this thing. So 0.682 and 0.664. Just a phenomenal round. I'm not going to lie, this is my favorite of the group. I think you could do well with all of these, but this is my favorite by far. All right, that is a wrap for the 6.5 Grendel. What did you guys think? For me, man, I've had a blast the last couple of days testing this thing out. It ran flawlessly. We had no issues with it. Very low recoil. I think it was everything he intended it to be. I think he's going to enjoy this for a long time to come. Appreciate it again, Andy, for letting us take it for a spin. And as far as the ammo that we tested, that ELD Match 123 grain from Hornady, it performed well. The one group that we had with it, I think we were at a 1.2 MOA, somewhere in there. Wouldn't surprise me for somebody to get a little bit better performance with this rifle, with that stuff. With the hunting rounds, however, 123 grain SST from Hornady and the 120 grain MSR from Federal. For me, it was no contest. The accuracy on the MSR was much better. And we did test that Hornady round twice just to make sure that the accuracy was the same both times. It was. So the MSR was more accurate. I thought it did a better job in the gel. So for me, it was no contest. It was, we'd go with that MSR round from Federal. I know I tend to lean that way anyway, and I don't want to seem like a homer, but I did feel that it performed much better in this case. So that's our take. We would love to get your guys' feedback as well. If you got history with one of these rounds, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. We've got a lot of content that we're trying to get out. We've got some 9mm, some 5.56. We've got a micro pistol shootout that we're doing with some of the micro pistols here in the store. So keep looking for that. If you like the content that we're putting out, I'll say it again, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on. So when we put something new out, you'll get a notification. And from everybody at FHC Tactical, God bless. Get out and exercise your Second Amendment right. We'll catch you next time.